would like in this short video to show you how we produced the Norma Trimble memorial window for the Norma Public Library. We started by putting together a design concept containing things that we knew she liked. She liked stained glass, so we put a stained glass lamp in. She also read the New York Times every day. With these things in mind, we started to add things. She liked to arrive at work at about 20 after 9, we found out, so we put the clock from the library in the design. And then we added a stack of books, including 3 that were her favorites. And she liked flowers, so we put one of her favorites in the design. These elements were assembled on a computer using digital photography to produce a design. From that image, we then produced a line drawing that we numbered and letter coded according to the different styles or types of glass we'd use in each of those areas. We produced 2 copies of this full-scale design, one to build on and the other on heavy paper. Has to be cut out with special scissors to create pattern pieces to cut the glass out. These special scissors remove a small kerf of paper which compensates for the metal between each piece of glass. The paper pattern pieces are then placed on the appropriate glass in exactly the position that we want on that particular glass, and then marked around with a marker so that we can accurately cut them with the glass cutter. Cutting the glass for a panel of this kind is very time-consuming and requires a fair amount of skill. There are a lot of very difficult shapes to be cut in this glass to produce the panel. There's a large number of tight inside curves and a lot of small pieces in this design, and these are the most difficult kinds of glass pieces to work with. To accurately represent some of the main elements of our design, we used one of what we call our stained glass special effects. We use this technique in her books. We used it to produce the clock on the wall. And the issue of the New York Times is probably the most difficult single part of this panel. Several different steps are required to get the detail that we desire in one of these special pieces of glass. Black on white, hand-drawn or computer-generated artwork is used to produce this blue photoresist film. This photoresist film is then carefully applied to our previously cut piece of glass. We have a specific method for applying the photoresist that eliminates air bubbles getting trapped under the film. Trapped air bubbles can cause the film to fail during etching and produce a poorly etched image. The back of the glass is covered with vinyl to protect it during the etching process. The edge of the photoresist is also sealed with masking tape. The piece is then placed in one of our etching cabinets where it is etched with fine aluminum oxide abrasive. The etched piece is then placed under hot water, which will soften the resist and make it reasonably easy to remove it from the glass. If we have done this carefully and had no material failure, we end up with this image etched in the glass about a 1/16 of an inch deep. Here Doris is preparing the black stain to be used on the New York Times piece. These stains or enamels are very special and made in only a few places in the world. She will add a small amount of gum arabic to the powder, which acts as a binder and helps the powder stick to the glass. Several different media can be used to mix with the powder, some of them very exotic like lavender or clove oil. In this application, however, we're using simple, pure water. These ingredients have to be mixed very thoroughly for 10 or 15 minutes until they're creamy smooth. The painting part in this technique is relatively easy. We just have to make sure that we adequately and evenly fill the etched portions on the glass. After the stain has dried, we'll carefully cut away the stain on the smooth surface of the glass. If this is done properly, the stain in the etched areas of the glass remains intact and gives us a nice precise duplication of the image. Then it's a little final cleanup with a damp Q-tip, and then it's off to one of our kilns where we fire it to about 1140 degrees to make the pigments permanently fused to the glass. The glass we used for the stained glass lamp in this panel was a variegated opal, but it had a strong directional pattern. We wanted to use that directional characteristic of the glass as a design effect in the lamp. Here Tara is drawing directional arrows on the pattern pieces so we can orient them on the glass to achieve the effect we want. The pieces of glass that we have to cut for the lamp are mostly straight line geometric shapes. We have a tool called the portable glass shop that we use to cut out these kinds of glass shapes. Most of the shapes in a stained glass lamp are trapezoids. And to cut them, we start by cutting precise glass strips. After our strips are cut, we then set the other part of our glass shop to cut the angles and the length of our individual trapezoid pieces. After all the glass has been cut with the glass cutter, the next step is foiling and fitting. Each piece of glass is carefully fitted to the line in the design and its adjoining glass pieces. We use a diamond grinder to grind the glass piece down to the exact fit we need. When the glass is exactly the size that we need, we carefully wrap it in a copper foil tape. The glass has to be carefully centered on the copper foil tape so that when it crimps and wraps over the edge of the glass, it's equal on both sides. After we have foiled the piece of glass, it's necessary to burnish it with a lathe. This gives the adhesive on the back of the foil a good opportunity to stick to the glass, and it also flattens the foil out so that it's nice and smooth. Foiling and fitting is usually the most time-consuming single step in producing an art glass panel. Designing a piece of this kind can often take more time than any other step, but foiling and fitting takes the most time to accomplish of the steps required to craft an art glass piece of this type. When we have completed the foiling and fitting process, the panel is ready for soldering. We begin soldering by applying a liquid flux to the copper. This chemically prepares the copper so that the solder will stick properly. We then use a soldering iron to melt the solder and form a nice uniform bead of solder on the copper foil. This bead or crown of molten solder must be laid down in a precise way so that it produces an attractive but yet very strong soldered line. When we've finished soldering the first side, we must carefully turn the panel, and we have a very precise method for doing this so that the panel does not bow and crack a piece of glass before we've even finished the panel. and then we're ready to solder the second side. Good copper foil soldering requires experience and skill. We need quite a bit of heat to properly melt our solder. We use a soldering iron that can reach temperatures as high as 1,000 degrees. We use a very high quality 50% tin, 50% lead solder. When the copper foil soldering is complete, we'll measure and cut a zinc border cane to go around the outside edge of the panel. We use zinc because it is lightweight and reasonably strong. And it's also a compatible metal to solder to the soldered lines in the stained glass panel. Once we have the zinc border fitted in place, we then solder the corners and each solder line that meets the zinc border. This is done, of course, to both sides. After the soldering is complete, the panel is scrubbed with a flux solvent. We do this to remove the residual flux and solder residue that's left on the panel. The next step is to patina the panel. We do this with a chemical that darkens the soldered line, giving it a rich pewter gray colored appearance. And last but not least, we clean the panel. We use a specially formulated cleaner sealant that not only cleans the panel, but also puts on a protective coating of waxes and polymers. After the finishing compound has dried, we buff the panel with a soft cloth and then use Q-tips to clean the glass right up to the edge of the soldered line. This panel was designed to hang in a large window in the front of the library. So we installed it in a custom-built oak frame made by our frame maker, George Anderson. We were very pleased to have been selected to design and craft this panel for the Norma Public Library. We hope that people that come to the library will notice the panel and enjoy viewing it, and also remember Norma Trimble, the inspiration behind its design.